welcome to Talents Unlimited. I'm your host, Gary Scudero, and as always, going to bring you another fine show here. Just some basic things to get out of the way. Tonight is a live show. You want to call in at any time. They'll be flashing a phone number at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to call in, say hello, maybe something you want to talk about, maybe talk about my guest that'll be coming on soon. Whatever you want, give us a call. The number is at the bottom there. It looks like it's 460-9434, 718 area code. We're going all out to Queens there. So hopefully my 3 or 4 viewers will be calling in. Let's hope for the best. Also, you want to be on my show, contact me, bartleby@juno.com. That's right, I said it, Juno. Nobody has it anymore. I still do. I might be the last one. BARTLBY@Juno, JUNO.com. And yes, I pay money for that every year. Okay, it ain't free. Okay, I just had it for so long, I just keep it there. Man, what are we talking about? I haven't been on since, well, it's been a whole month. It's been a whole month. I was on back in August there. As you know, currently I'm on the second Tuesday of every month. And that was a fine, entertaining show. I had a wrestler on there who was very entertaining, and I had a mentalist on. I never really got to watch the show because once it airs, I never got a copy of it here. But maybe someday people working can get me a copy so on DVD, or they can do something when they're not too busy. That'll be kind of nice there. I heard it was an entertaining show. I was having a good time, as I'm going to have a good time tonight. Right now, it is September 10th. Of course, the day before 9/11. Tomorrow is that monumental day there when pretty much the whole country kind of was attacked, but at the same time brought us all together for a while there. We kind of all felt unity about something, and you're going to see the names being written tomorrow there, and yeah, it's going to be kind of a sad day tomorrow there. We're going to try and make the most of it today, though, if we can here. Other things going on, it is baseball season is coming to a close soon. I haven't really been following. Hey, Bill.
What?
What's going on? I would see the Mets have a shot at anything or what?
No.
Bill is a #1 Mets fan, and I was thinking about Bill. Bill is a big fan of the Mets. That's right. He'll take your sympathy cards. Also, he is a big fan of the moon landing back in '69. Do you know what happened in that same year also? The Mets won the pennant. Is that correct, Bill?
That's correct.
That is correct. And so what they did was, I heard, they had a little bobblehead or something like that, or a statue of Mr. Met standing on the moon, because they both happened in '69 there. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
And Bill is a major fan of both. Bill, who I've had on before, he's working in the back room right now. He thinks it should be a national holiday to commemorate that day of landing on the moon. We don't seem to make a big deal about it for the most part. Not sure what the deal is there, but Bill thinks it should be a national holiday for whatever reason there, and maybe good reason. How about the Yankees? What's going on with the Yankees there, Bill?
They got a good chance of winning the World Series.
Really? Are they in first place right now?
Oh, by a lot.
Really? And I'm not a super fan of any team at all. But I probably favor the Yankees more because when I was a little boy, there were no Mets at first.
Yeah.
And my dad used to take me to the Yankees games up in Yankee Stadium up there. Back in the day when they had the columns in the way, you had to move your head around if you had a bad seat there because they had poor planning, whatever it was. Maybe that's the best they had in technology. He used to get me out there early, sometimes after the games, to get autographs on the baseball. Somewhere I got a baseball at home I know is valuable. I have Horace Clarke on this ball. Okay. I got Gene Michaels on this ball.
You know, Horace Clarke might bring down the value.
Why would Horace Clarke bring down the value?
Because he's Horace Clarke.
Oh, sorry to hear that. All right. Sorry, Horace. And on this same ball, Celerino Sanchez. Okay? He was a big deal for 2 years in the Yankees back in the '70s. Anyway, I used to deal with my dad, so that's why I'm kind of more of a Yankee fan. I guess I would be a Mets fan. Even though I live in Queens, I'm born in Queens, I live in Queens, and again, keep my fingers crossed, I'm going to die in Queens, all right? So let's hope for the best here. Let me tell you a story, though. One time back in the day, we saw Bobby Mercer. There was just a fence between us and him getting into his Mercedes, or whatever fancy car he had back then. My dad asked him, said, "Hey, Bobby, can I just throw the ball over? You sign it for my son?" Bobby Mercer did not sign my ball. That stuck with me all these years.
Really?
Very sad, very, very sad. Bobby Mercer's no longer with us, right?
I don't think he is. I think
No.
he passed away
See?
about 2 years ago.
Okay, and that's for not signing my ball. There you go. It all comes back once. I got him. There you go. It kind of evens the score right now, don't it? There you go.
Now you're ahead. You're up.
That's right. Yeah. You know, how old is Bobby? Do you know how old he was when he died?
60.
60.
60, yeah.
He couldn't have been 60. I'm 60. So if he died 2 years ago, I wasn't 2 years old. That was, he was 4. All right. So no, I think the numbers have to be off there a little bit there. I don't know. So anyway, yeah, so the Yankees, I hope they win again. It'd be kind of nice. I don't think they haven't won in a long time. It'd be kind of exciting to see, I guess. New York always goes nuts when the Yankees are winning and stuff. I guess they would go more nuts for the Mets, but, you know, you gotta take them when you can. It's like sparingly, you know. It's kind of nice, though. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. We have here tonight, we have a novelist. He writes, basically, I think it's private detective novels. I forgot I had this man on about 1.5 years ago. But bringing that into mind here, this gentleman, Renee, he's a major dude. He's a very talented man. He has a lot of knowledge about the studio. Once he gets working now, man, this guy, he does a good job. Once you can get him to work, though, that's the key. But once he does this, he does a fine job. Anyway, he mentioned to me about James Bond. I'm going to bring this up with my guest here. The new James Bond, well, it's not really James Bond. It's going to be a lady, okay? It's going to be a woman playing James Bond. And people are raving out, oh, finally a woman gets to do this role, whatever there. Basically, though, she's not going to be James Bond. She's going to be 007. And for what I know of the 007 series, the 00 means you have a license to kill. So there's other 00s in this. There's like a 008, a 009, a 006. As far as I know, I'm not, a full. Maybe I'll find out from the author here. So she's going to take over James Bond's spot. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be Jane Bond. I don't know what her actual name is. She will be 007, but it's not really going to be a James Bond kind of thing. Yeah, she may do all the cool karate moves or whatever there. She may have all the cool weapons and stuff, but it's not really James Bond because James Bond had other things about him. I mean, is she going to be going into casinos in a fancy outfit and winning at cars or blackjack, whatever she plays there, or roulette like James Bond did? James Bond was a womanizer. Will she be a womanizer? I don't know. It's not the same kind of thing as being a James Bond character. So there is a little different. I'm going to talk to my guest about that too, because again, he seems to know a little bit about the private detective series. There's this whole world of espionage and stuff like that. At least I think he does. Like, you know what? You don't want to hear me anymore. You see me enough. Well, can you really see me enough? You see me enough here. I'm going to bring out my guest here. Ladies and gentlemen, Tejas Desai. Yeah. All right. How you doing, man? Good to see you again. Good to see you. You said it's been about 1.5 years?
About 1.5 years, yeah. I think it was on maybe January 2018 or something like that.
Right, and you were talking about your books here, and the popularity of those books just skyrocketed right after you got on my show.
Exactly, man.
It went crazy, man.
Thank you for having me on your show. I mean, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
They
marketing miracle.
Everybody that was reading your crime stories here. Wow, that's the power of this show, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we do here. This is what we do. So we're going to talk about you. You got a new book coming out today, right?
Right, yeah. So I have a new book coming out on September 16th. So that's about a week from now. And that's the sequel to my first novel, which was The Brotherhood. So it's a 3-book crime trilogy. The first book was The Brotherhood. It came out in 2012. I brought out a second edition actually last year, 2018. I did a GoFundMe campaign, and it was successful, and we brought out the second book. The second edition of the book, and now we're bringing out the sequel to the book. And next year we're going to bring out the third book.
Okay, before we get to the actual character and all of that, your take on the James Bond 007 thing with the lady. What's going? What do you think about that?
I'm thinking we should bring out new series, new detectives, new stories. rather than just recycling the same one. So I don't really have an opinion about whether 007 will be a woman or not. But why don't we just go beyond the old series of the past and have new characters, new series?
Okay, but in all seriousness, they have had other series or movies where they've had a lady being a James Bond type character. I mean, she's got all the cool weapons. I mean, they've had these.
Like Lara Croft or whatever.
Atomic Blonde was out there. That was something with Charlize Theron, something like that. Though I mean, again, the same kind of character where they have all these cool weaponry and all this stuff here, and then they got all the cool moves and all that stuff there. So yeah, they've had this kind of thing before. So I'm not sure why they have to make it into a woman. What the deal is? I mean, I don't care either. I don't see every Bond film anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, make sure to do a female Rocky. I'd like to see a female Rocky.
Well, they kind of did. I mean, they had, what was that movie, $1 Million Baby, right? I mean, it was kind of she's a female boxer.
Yeah, that was a depressing story.
Yeah, it was.
Clint Eastwood, man, he knows how to make depressing movies. Mystic River, The Million.
That's true.
Man, that guy really knows how to depress you. It's a good filmmaker, but man, depress the heck out of you. Yeah, female Rambo. We could have that. Can we do that? Rambo. I don't know what we call that there. Yeah. Female Rocky. We call her a Rockette.
Has there been a Rambo since the 80s? Or I'm not even sure.
No, there has. Yeah, no, they're coming out with a new one,
Really? Okay.
Next week or the week after, I'm going to be online.
Oh, wow.
It's called Rambo Last Blood.
Oh, nice.
Be number 5 in the series. I will be there to see that one. Yes, I will. Man, 70-something years old now. He's still kicking butt all over the place there.
Still Sylvester Stallone?
Still Sylvester Stallone. It's not.
He was old in Rocky. What was it? Rocky Balboa. He was like, I think he was 70-something then. I don't know.
Well, yeah. He's about 73 now. Yeah. Yes, he's gonna be going. Yeah, he's gonna be doing Rambo.
Wow.
Anyway, you didn't come in to talk about Rambo and 007. You came in to talk about your series here. Now let me just kind of show the books we have. Which was the first in the series? Which was the first one?
So this was the first book in the series, which is the original cover that came out in 2012. So this came out in 2012, and that was the original cover. There was a film trailer that I did on it, and these were the actors who were in the film trailer. So that's what.
Oh, wait. Maybe I forgot this. Maybe you mentioned you made a film out of this.
So it was a trailer, yeah. So it was like basically a 3 or 4 minute advertisement of the book.
Oh no, I've seen that stuff. When they promote a book on TV, they just saw like a little clip
trailer,
or something.
Exactly.
I gotcha. All right.
These actors, I hired them to play the characters in the book. So these are all characters in the book. And they played short scenes from the book in the trailer.
Interesting.
And it's online, still on YouTube. And these actors are playing the characters on the cover here. So.
Okay, now it says here it's Private Investigator Niro Solanki.
Nero Solank.
Niro Solank, okay.
Similar.
He lived the life of this patient, and he's a private investigator. Is that the deal?
So he.
Now his story is he's a private investigator. Was he a cop first, and then became a private investigator, or he just went into the private investigation
So he's
field?
actually kind of this down on his luck type. He tried to be a writer, and he failed, and he kind of moves back home. And his father is actually a cop, but he's like a retired cop, like a retired street cop.
Okay.
And he puts him in touch with an old friend of his, a retired friend of his, who is a private investigator. So he starts working as an assistant for a private investigator, and then he gets drawn into a case that's close to home, because his childhood friend is murdered, or at least she's murdered, she commits suicide, it's not clear. And so he's drawn into that, and so he starts working on that case under the tutelage of this other investigator, and then other things start happening, and he gets more drawn into it.
Right, and what makes this character different from other private investigators is what?
Is the fact that he's not really an investigator at first.
Okay.
He's like a down on his luck type, depressed with his life, and he kind of just randomly gets this job due to his father's connection to the private investigator.
So like me, yes.
So basically, like in many noirs of the past, he's like kind of like an unwitting type that kind of gets drawn into this world of crime, whereas you normally wouldn't be in that world if not for this random kind of happenstance.
Right. Now the guy in the back, is that who's the detective is supposed to be, the private eye?
The guy in the back is me, actually.
That is you?
That is me from ancient times.
Really?
That's me from 2010, 2011 maybe. And that's because this book is from 2012. That's one representation of me from that time.
Okay, the picture on the back, I don't know if you can see it too clearly.
I think you have to.
Yeah, you have to zoom. It's a little tiny picture though. It's a little.
Hold on, I'm working on it.
You can do this. Wow, this guy's amazing. This guy Renee is
I
phenomenal.
know. No, he did my mic too.
Once
That's
you
amazing.
get this guy, he does wonders. Look at that. That's you. Back what year?
This is 2012 at least, maybe possibly even earlier.
I'm just curious. Why couldn't you put yourself on the cover and you be the private eye?
Why couldn't I put myself as the private eye?
Yeah, I mean, all right, let me ask you this. When you had this guy in your mind,
Yep.
you had a picture of him, description, all that stuff. Did you have anybody in mind when you thought about it?
I mean, I guess, I took myself and people who I knew and kind of like, reimagined it into this private eye.
Did you have an idea about what his face would look like, his height, his build? I mean,
So
did you have this
actually,
all in
the guy over here in the middle, he actually plays Nero in the film.
And this is the guy you envisioned that would be? I know.
I auditioned some actors, and he was the one who came out as the best one.
So you were looking for a guy that actually would fit the type in your mind? In other words, you gotta.
More or less, in the sense that, like, say for example, this guy, like, he's probably the best actor of all of them, but I envisioned him more as Vishal. That's how I envisioned how Vishal would look, who is like the main antagonist.
Okay, but my point is, I'm reading this book and I see this. This is a vision I should have in my mind. This is the private eye. But this is the vision you wanted to give the people. That's your private eye guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay,
yeah.
now that's what I want to find out.
Yeah, because he kind of doesn't seem as that descript, but as the series moves on, he becomes a stronger character, basically.
Right, because I remember they once asked Ian Fleming, going back to James Bond,
yeah.
when he wrote the character James Bond, who or what did he have in mind? He said, me. So,
Yeah,
talking about himself. So did you have yourself in mind
Well,
when
the
you were writing
guy's
this
a failed
character?
writer, so in the sense, I was struggling with my own writing. No, seriously, I mean, I rewrote this book over 20 times from scratch, so it's always been a struggle.
Gotcha.
So to some extent, there's always some of you in every character to some extent.
Okay,
But yeah, there's some of it, me and him, but
no,
not just me though.
Okay, no, I just always don't know how that works. And you got a picture in your mind. You have some, again, you got a size, a shape, a this, or that. Is he really built and is he thin or husky or whatever it is? So I just want to know that that's when you're writing this guy, you got all your characters.
Yeah,
you have a picture of them in your mind, or
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how this works.
But-
I'm not a writer, so I don't
Right,
know.
yeah. I mean, what happened was that when I was first writing it, it was more, I guess, for lack of a better word, ideologically based. Like I was really thinking in terms of literary themes and stuff like that. And really, when I got to the more, I guess, quote unquote commercial version is when I kind of think more about the characters themselves. I mean, the characters were always there, but they were a little bit more, I guess, less defined and more complex. But here they're the kind of razor focus defined. And so, yeah, I mean, certainly I have them in my mind when I'm writing it. This version of the book I actually wrote in like a few weeks. Because I had written it so many times and so many versions that when I kind of focused on this version, that I was so keyed in that it was very clear in my mind. Yes.
Okay, now does your character here, does he have special traits or special skills, or
He's not a superhero. He has no special.
he's not like Liam Neeson or nothing here, where he's got special talents or things
He's
like
not James Bond either. He's not slick. He's not suave.
Okay.
He's like a down-to-earth guy. Like a guy from Queens.
He's not a super tough guy, super sleuth like Sherlock Holmes.
He's more like a nerdy guy.
He's a nerdy guy. Okay, gotcha. All right.
His friends, some of his friends in the book are a little bit more, tougher, muscular. But again, he changes through the book and he changes through the series. So he does become tougher. And
he develops. He kind
yes.
of metamorphos sizes. Is that a good word? Is that a real word?
Yeah.
Is that a word? Is that a good word? Yep, using big words on this show all the time here. That's what the show is about here. Metamorphosize? Yeah, I probably can. We just don't have enough time in the show for me to get all the letters out.
I'm not even sure how to spell that. But.
And also the other thing about this here makes it special is that it takes place in Queens, right?
Right, yeah. The majority of the book takes place in Queens.
So all the locations you talk about, are you familiar with all these locations and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. There's, there's Flushing, there's Middle Village, there's Jackson Heights, There's Long Island City.
Now, did you drive around these areas first and you get ideas for it, or you just?
I mean, I grew up in Queens. I'm born and raised here.
Right, doesn't mean you've been all over.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Here doesn't mean you've been to Middle Village or you've been to.
But I started working for the Queens Public Library about 12 years ago, and so I've been on a lot of locations. And so as I travel through Queens, I've also done that. But outside of that, I've also traveled, through locations and stuff too. So yeah, I do go around and investigate and research for my books. So that for Queens there, both my personal experience of people I know and have told me about, and also my own research and going around. And that's also true for the second book, which is set internationally. So it's set in Thailand, set in India, it's set in the American South. I've been to all those places.
Oh, really?
Yes. So yeah, I do write what I know. It's just not. It's not. But it is fiction, of course. It's not direct reality.
Yeah, I know, but you got ideas from maybe stories you've heard or in the news or stuff like that. Or
I'm always meeting people. I'm always talking to people, especially on my travels, but also locally. And that's where I get a lot of my ideas that I then kind of extrapolate into fiction. So, but it has to be reality based. It's all gritty reality. So the crime fiction, the short stories as well, which I also write. It's all based on stories people have told me, or some gritty thing that comes out of reality. Not necessarily my personal experience, but certainly the experience of somebody.
Well, things you've heard.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
By the way, your dad or anybody in the police force at all?
Yeah, my dad actually works for the NYPD. He's a traffic police officer. He's a traffic supervisor.
Oh, those guys are deadly. those guys are more hated than anybody I know. I mean, just that ticket on your window, man.
But yeah, I mean, I've got working class roots. My parents are immigrants from India, but my dad's a traffic cop, and my mom works in the hospital. But she's not a doctor or anything. She's a lab technician. So
I'm sure your dad's toughened up over the years. All the crap he had to take. That's a tough gig, man.
No, it is a tough gig.
People hate your guts. I mean, there's nothing, they don't like these. I mean, they had to give tickets or whatever it is, or man, that's a tough job.
He's going to retire soon, and I think he's very happy about it. He's a tough guy. He's an honorable guy, but enough.
No kid, man. How much can you take? I know. You don't get to carry a gun or nothing, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. You're out there without any weapons or anything.
That's right. That's even worse, man. You're just all with a pen and a pad. That's wow, man. Yeah. Man, God bless him, man. Good for him. I don't know. Oh, and that's another thing. You're.
Since you know him, can you get a break on a ticket then?
We'll talk about this later. How about that?
Hey, I got a red light. I got a speeding thing. I did $50, man. They hit me, but I didn't see a school around there a couple of weeks ago. I'll talk to you about that later. Okay, and also another thing about this is he's an Indian.
Right, he's Indian American. So like me, he's born here, but he's of Indian descent.
Now, as far as you know, is this the first Indian private eye story that you know of? Or?
I doubt it's the first, but I don't know too many.
Well, maybe the first here in the United States, maybe possibly in India. They may have tons of these. Yeah.
I don't want to say definitively because I don't know for a fact.
Right.
But I don't know of any commercial series that has an Indian American private investigator who's born here. There are books, written by Indian American authors that are mysteries set in India. For example, or have Indians who come here, for example, but who are born there. But I don't know of any, at least, that I know of that have Indian American characters who are born here, and so they have kind of like the mix of the Indian culture and the American culture. Right. So yeah, as far as I know, it's the only one.
Yes, that's a novelty in itself, right there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Now, what was the second one in the series?
So this is the second edition, by the way, that was published about a year ago. It has a map of Queens. It has a lot of additional features, including an interesting.
Okay, now why did you redo the same book?
So I wanted to reintroduce it to a new audience, basically, because the second and third books were coming out.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to reintroduce it to a wider audience. I started, I got the new cover as a more universal cover. The first one is very multicultural, for like more of like an indie niche audience. This could also work that way as well, but it also kind of has a bit more universal appeal, I feel. I just wanted to kind of reinvigorate it, in 2018, since this was coming out in 2019, which is the sequel.
Okay, now so I get this straight. This was first written 2012?
It was first published in 2012.
2012. Mm-hmm. And it took you another 7 years for another edition to come out?
So I was...
Really?
Yeah, so I had actually written the sequel, and the third book, A few years ago, probably 2014, I would say, 15. But I was busy doing a lot of things. So, I was having a full-time job. I was busy promoting this book and my short story collection series, Good Americans. I was busy doing readings and this and that and the other thing, doing traveling. So I didn't get a chance to, really like copy edit and really work on the book, the publication of the book until now, basically the last couple of years.
Right.
So I created this plan to republish this book and then publish the other two books. And that's what we're on right now. That's the track we're on. It's going pretty well. So the first book came out. It's selling better than ever, at least better than before.
Right.
And this new book's coming out in a week, and it's available for pre-orders and everything.
We're gonna get to that in a second there. But this one here now, did you have to rewrite anything, or you just added to it?
So I wrote an introduction.
Okay.
I got it freshly copy edited. I had my copy editor, who's also an award-winning writer and everything, Christine Kelleny, who lives in Wisconsin, has written many mysteries as well. She wrote an introduction to the book. There's a glossary of terms, which is in the first book too, but it's revamped. There's a trivia questions. There's a study guide. There's a map of Queens in there.
Trivia questions like about what?
About the characters and
Oh, okay,
what happens.
gotcha.
Yeah,
All right,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah. And there's a study guide. So the trivia questions are more about the characters and stuff and the situations, organizations in the book. Study guide a little bit more about the cultural stuff. So you have both worlds. And the introduction describes what the tough journey I went through,
Right.
trying to get the book published, but traditionally rewriting the book, going to different publishers and stuff, and finally creating my own company and publishing the book myself, which I'm still doing and I still have. And it's called The New Way, and I'm still doing it. And also, what I want to promote in terms of my literary movement, to have more multicultural, provocative authors, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm looking at it. So you've added some more fun things in
Yeah,
here, some more interesting
exactly.
facts and things like that. Okay, quite interesting there.
So even if you got the first book, there's a reason. There are reasons to read this as well.
Gotcha. You know what I noticed though? You got no pictures, not even drawings or nothing. I like some pictures in a book.
It's not a graphic novel, that's true.
No, I understand. Even like a shot of something, just like maybe, honest, I just, when I, I'm not an avid reader myself, sorry to say, but it's like even like at the top of each chapter, maybe just had a picture of something, a scene, or maybe is that hard to do? I don't even know. I don't know.
It's more work in terms of getting somebody to do that. I mean, and probably more money, but that's an idea though. Maybe for the third book, we'll see.
Gotcha. Hey, just curious, the people from the original story now, 7 years ago, when you put them on this cover here,
Right.
you still see them? Are they around, or what are they doing?
I don't know. I mean, I hired them. Only this individual right here. He actually works with me at the Queens Library. His name is Andrew.
Gentleman here?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
on QPTV also. I think he's on the show. He's an actor.
Really?
Yeah, so
Okay.
he works in maintenance at the library,
All right.
and he also is an actor. So he's been in plays and stuff in Manhattan.
Right.
And he also is in a show. I can't remember the name of the show, but
So these other people you've never seen or heard from again?
no, I'm sure. I think one of them, maybe a couple of them might be my Facebook friends or something. But I'm not in direct contact with them. I'm sure
Gotcha.
if they
I'm just
wanted to
curious,
do
yeah.
another, trailer or something, they'd probably be on board. But
Have they moved on to bigger and better things?
I haven't really checked. I don't know. A couple of them are pretty talented actors and have other talents as
Gotcha.
well.
All right.
But I don't know. I haven't really checked, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah, I was curious. I know the deal there. All right. That is. And just curious, how long something like this take to shoot? This picture. I mean, was it a quick thing? They're running for 5 minutes, take a shot there, you're done, you got the camera.
To film anything is a grueling process, as you probably know. I mean, I did this in my basement. I was basically my first floor of my house, and it took all day to do it. We had lighting. I hired a cinematographer. And we had a green screen and everything, and it wasn't easy to do. It took 1 day, so we did it in 1 day. And it's about 3-4 minute trailer with short scenes. So we were able to do it in 1 day, which is an achievement in itself. I mean,
And this picture just came from one of the shots you filmed that day?
So I kind of planned this as the cover. So the cinematographer, he took this shot, and then he actually cleaned up the image and stuff and did the background and created that cover.
Gotcha.
As part of our deal.
I'm just curious, when you did your little filming preview of this, where did it air? On YouTube, or where do you see this? You see it on regular TV, or
It's on YouTube. Yeah, you can still go on YouTube and if you go to Brotherhood Brook trailer.
Could you have put it on TV? Because I've seen that sometimes too. I've seen like a Daniel Steele novel. I mean, it's obviously a bigger name, whatever. But I've seen like do like a little. Like you did, I guess, a little quick preview of some of the actors just playing some of the characters, and that's how they promote their book and stuff. So you never try to air it on regular TV there.
No, I just figured it was too expensive, or I didn't really have.
They say it's not. They say late night TV ads. They say it's not that bad, or on New York 1 or something like that. Late at night, you could.
I can look into it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This is what they tell me. I don't know.
I can look into it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of low budget commercials on TV all the time, and they say it's not as expensive as you think.
Okay.
So I don't know what the deal is. I don't know how it works.
It's possible, yeah. I'll look into it. That's a good
maybe
idea.
something you want to do for your next ones there. We'll just show some of the footage there, right? You can still show it, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. So you did that. You redid the book here. It's probably a lot easier to put on the cover, right?
Yeah. Well, my cover designer, Fina, she created that just like she did for my short story collection, Good American. So now I work with the same person. She's done 3 of my covers now.
Okay. So this is basically the story from 2012.
Right.
Okay. And your next story came out when?
Of the series, this is coming out in a week.
That's the second one.
It's the second one, yeah.
Second one. Now, any reason why it took you 7 years in between?
Well, as I say, I actually wrote it in 2014, I think.
Right.
And then I rewrote it. So it was like a process of writing and rewriting. So I think I actually had the final one done maybe in 2016. And then it just took a while to continue to market and stuff, and I had to do the whole GoFundMe campaign for that, and then do the work for that, and then again doing the copy editing for this, and proofreading, and other things, and getting the cover, and doing. I do everything myself, obviously. So
right, I got you. Yeah. It just seems like a long time in between novels here. Wow.
It is a long time, but I'm coming out with all 2 books, and probably the sequel to this short story collection also. So I'm hoping for a book a year for 4 straight years, possibly even 5.
Okay, but this one here coming out in 2 weeks?
In 1 week.
1 week.
September 16th, right.
1 week. Now, just curious, since you work in a library, are these books in the library?
Yeah, they are.
They are?
Yep.
Okay.
All 3 of these books are in the library, and that one should be as
in
well.
all Queens libraries, just the one you work in?
Actually, the one I work in doesn't own it. The one I currently work in, yeah. But the Queens Library System has it.
Would that be a conflict of interest? Is that why it's not in there?
Not necessarily. I don't know. I mean, not necessarily, but because I moved around from library to library, to different positions. The one I'm currently in just never got a copy, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, the conflict of interest stuff is, a little bit of a fine line, but it probably wouldn't be. I mean, it has Queen's interest. There have been plenty of people check these books out.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you actually go and see how much has been checked out, or how long is there a way to check on that, or?
I mean, you could go and check, but they even today, people are still checking them out.
Right.
The library has copies from 2012, like they're copies from 2012.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Been there for 7 years, and they're still going out.
Yeah, and you've done no touring with this? Like, you don't tour libraries with your book?
Well, I've done it, yeah. So when the book first came out, I did book clubs. I talked to book clubs. I went to readings, and also when Good Americans came out, the short story collection. And even since then, I've done not only readings but lectures as well. And now I'm doing a new series of them now that the book is coming out. So I'm doing something tomorrow. I'm going in Manhattan with other South Asian writers. Doing something a couple of weeks in Forest Hills. I've done it, and I'm going to continue to do it. So
you do readings and stuff, and I guess signed books or whatever. They ask you questions about it, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, that's very cool. That just seems really interesting stuff here. I mean, at the very least, it's a nice hobby. If you're not making a career out of it, it's a fun thing to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, it's a career, and even if I end up not making. It's not like I'm going to make tons of money, but I plan to write many books, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm going to do. So. I'm hoping that in the long term, I will be financially successful as well.
Now, other than the technical stuff that goes with it, all the other work you're doing, to actually write the story, how long does it take you? Like from first time you hit the first word to the ending? How long does that take you? About a week, a
So,
month, 6 months? I don't know.
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, as I said, like for example, the first draft of this book that I can remember, and again, I think I wrote a first draft many years ago when I had a different version of the book. But the first draft that was completed here, probably 2014 or so, probably took me about a year.
Okay.
And then I rewrote it again, maybe once or twice, I can't even remember now. But usually every rewrite takes approximately a year. So we're talking about working a full-time job
Okay, yeah.
and writing, once a day, for
Right.
about a couple of hours. Maybe I don't really do pages. I kind of do the time,
Right.
but maybe we're writing like 3 to 5 pages a day. This book, which is condensed, but this is about 376 pages.
I was going to ask you that too. Yeah. When you're writing a story, do you have an idea how many pages you want it to be?
Not usually.
Could it be as little as 100 or 500? I mean, you don't know. You just whenever you feel it's over, and that's how many pages you come out with.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't necessarily have an idea of how many pages. I don't have an idea of how many pages it is.
Right.
I might have an idea. Not really an idea. It's when I'm writing, it's more like a feeling. Like it's not really like.
Yeah.
It's not really. There's no real schema necessarily. But like I knew like this was a novel like of the length.
Right.
But.
Do you know how many chapters you're going to put in it beforehand, or you just wing that too? Just kind of as it goes along, it just develops.
Right. Exactly. Yes, it develops.
Interesting.
So I don't have a set. And there are writers who do that. They're like, I know writers who write a page a day, and they know that at page 300 they're gonna be done. Like,
Okay, gotcha.
It's gonna be a
Right.
300-page book
Right.
or whatever. There are writers who do that. Madison Smart Bell wrote a book on this. He said it was. Some writers have linear design, some writers use modular design. He claims that modular design writers are superior. I don't know if that's true or not. But basically, the linear design writers have a design and they stick to that.
Right.
Modular design writers just do their thing and they come out with it, So I guess
Gotcha.
I'm more the latter.
Right.
I've used linear design. I've used plans, but those never really worked for me for the most part.
Right.
They were a little too stilted, I would say.
Now, have you actually taken classes or anything, or are you just kind of
Yeah, I mean, I haven't-
self-taught? You're a
yeah.
self-taught writer.
I would say I'm mostly self-taught, but I have an MFA in creative writing. I studied writing in school. I went to Wesleyan University, which is a very good school for the arts and writing. I was a year at Oxford, where I also took a lot. Well, I wrote like 50 stories, I think, when I was there.
Really?
And I took fiction workshops and other literary workshops with some of the best people around. So,
Well, the people who've actually taught you these classes, right? Are they published authors themselves?
Yeah, many of them are. Many of them are. Some of them are famous.
I mean, it's almost like taking an acting class. I mean, the person teaching the class may have never been in a movie or a play themselves. But they're teaching you how to act. I just always. We have a call. Yes. Who are we talking to?
My name is Ashley. I'm calling from Astoria.
Hello, Ashley. What can we do for you?
Hi, how are you?
I have a quick question. What is it like for Tejas to hear comments on his book during book club meetings? Like his work is being commented on. What's that like for you?
Did you able to hear that?
So your question is what it's like for me to hear my works being critiqued in a book club meeting?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting to me because I personally, I mean I don't take things personally in terms of people's critiques. That I've been in writing like some pretty intense writing workshops where the criticisms are pretty sharp. So if they're criticism, I usually try to learn from them. If it's praise, I mean, obviously I feel good about that. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit weird, obviously like being an author in a meeting where people are talking about your own book. But I always try to learn from anything I do. So if people have comments about my material, it's always an educational experience for me, as with anything else in my life.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Okay, just curious, are you a writer yourself?
No, actually, I'm not. I'm a teacher.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Very nice, very nice. Do you teach writing? You teach anything like that? What do you, English? What kind of teacher are you?
Actually, I'm a science teacher
Okay, interesting.
nice.
in middle school.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Nice. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So when you get a critique on your book, whatever, you ever think of, gee, man, that's an idea. Maybe I should make that change. You ever think of that, or
Well, I
screw
mean,
it, you don't
yeah.
care? I mean, it's
No,
done.
I mean, well, it depends if it's in the process stage. Certainly, I might consider it. If it's obviously it's already a published book, I'm not going to rewrite it at that point.
Gotcha.
But it, just like the ideas you're giving me about marketing or whatever,
Right.
it'll be in my head. I'll
Right.
consider it.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I might not do it, but
Right.
it's always you always have to be open to other possibilities. So.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm always open to listening to people. I do that in my job. I'm an assistant manager of a library, and I have staff and customers and everybody,
Okay.
constantly talking to me about things, and I have to
Right.
listen. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't see that.
Does he know the
But, well, that's what I was going to ask him. I remember the question. Yeah. I was just waiting until you got done talking. Thank you. Thank you for the coaching. We did have a question. Actually, our baseball aficionado back there did have a question here. Do you already know the ending when you start the book? You already know how it's going to end?
So I would say the only time I really knew the ending was the end of the third book. So
The third book being
third
what
book
now?
is the one that's not published yet, but will come out next year.
Next year?
Yeah, next
Okay,
year at this
gotcha.
time, September 16, 2020, The Dance Towards Death is the third book of the trilogy. So that one I did know, because that's what the entire book is kind of driving towards. But more or less, there's kind of like, there are multiple climaxes in these books.
Okay.
And so, but do I know all of them? Not necessarily. Again, I would say I do it. I write more with intuition, I guess, and kind of going with the flow,
Right.
rather than necessarily knowing exactly where I'm going. So it really depends. Again, it also depends on the story and whether it's a novel or just a short story. There are stories that I rewrote many times. There are stories I wrote in one shot and it was like perfect,
Right.
So it really depends, I would say.
Okay, well, let me ask this. Now, these books here I'm looking at, do these books have an ending, or is it a cliffhanger, or is it like to be continued?
They're all to be continued to some extent. So you do have to read one. I would say you have to read the first book to read the second book to read the third.
Oh, really? So neither book is. So
They're not really
these
independent, I
they're
would
not
say.
complete stories. So there's always like,
Well, they have their own arcs.
I got
So,
you,
yeah,
but there's right.
But there are characters, for example, in this book who come back in this book. There are new characters in this book. But but basically, you kind of have to understand what happened in the first book to kind of understand what happened in the second book. So you could read it independently, but it will be much more difficult for you to get everything out of it in terms of the plot, in terms of the story, in terms of the character arcs, without having read the first one, like I don't know, Game of Thrones or something,
Gotcha. Right. Yeah.
So so it is continuous in that sense. And so like the first book has a pretty contained mystery, I'd say. Bria dies, and Nero has to find out whether she killed herself, whether she was murdered, and who did it, and what was the conspiracy around this. And he kind of gets involved in all these different conspiracies, I would say, to all these different organizations. That crime is ultimately solved, but the complications of the crime kind of lead to his downfall. And in the second book, he kind of has to discover other mysteries and other crimes that occur that kind of lead from this book, but kind of make the world greater, make the literary universe larger, and so we are kind of entangled in an even greater mystery.
Gotcha. Okay, now this one here, this one leaves Queens, this one goes
Right,
out of
so
the country?
there are parts of it that are in Queens. So basically what happens is that it starts in Thailand, but then it kind of branches off. So we have different characters in different places doing different things. Nero's story is basically the focus, and that mostly occurs in Thailand and India, but we're also in the American South, we're in Queens again, we're in New York City, we're in parts in Australia, technically it's in Australia and Russia, and so we're all over the world in terms of, because the characters are from all over the world and the dramas are occurring all over the world, but the heart is still, I would say, in a sense, in Queens.
Gotcha. And in general, who's actually fighting? Is it a mob? Is it what is it?
So that's part of the mystery. So I don't
Okay,
want to completely
gotcha.
get, So there is a mob element.
On a
There
side
is
note, is there an Indian mob? I don't know. I know you got like a Russian mob, you got an Irish mob, Italian mob.
Right.
Is there an Indian mob?
There is in India.
There is?
Yes,
Okay.
there is in India.
They have a name? Are they like the Indian mafia?
I wouldn't
they
say
got a
there's
name. I
one
mean, how's that
mafia.
work?
There are different, like the different towns are in different, like in Mumbai, for example, there are, again, they're like criminal gangs, more or less, that, sell a certain product or whatever it might
Okay,
be.
gotcha.
Same thing in Thailand. So, like Nero, for example, is involved in a criminal organization in Thailand, and then he kind of shifts his focus to India as well, and kind of goes
Right.
back and forth. And so it veers between this kind of criminal component and then this religious component. So there's this religious Hindu organization in the book that's really prominent, and that becomes even more prominent in the second book, in the first book, and then even more prominent in the second book. So we're now actually in India, we're now in Thailand, and all these places. And so this is kind of like the two worlds he veers between, and he kind of has to find how to do the right thing, what the right thing is, even plot-wise, who did what, etc. So
Gotcha.
I don't want to give up too much of the
Right,
plot
no,
because
yeah.
that'll give away,
Sure.
things that happen in the book. But the entire theme I have in the book on all my banners and stuff is expect the unexpected. So all the first book is kind of more of a conventional mystery, even though you have so many surprises even in that book. But the second and third really kind of take it out of the water, and you really have a lot of surprises, and you don't really. The book goes in a lot of places that you don't even expect, but it still makes sense in the literary sense.
Okay, just curious. This character here, is it the kind of character that gets himself into a situation, and he kind of gets out either through luck or through his own special skills or abilities, or is that kind of thing there that we see this? That he's getting to?
I would say it's, he kind of, you kind of see his development in like a conscious sense and a moral sense.
So he doesn't get into a situation where he could possibly die, but he gets out last minute or something like that. Is there anything like that in these stories?
There's some of that, yeah. But there's more of the fact that he has to make critical decisions, I guess, based on what he's confronted with.
Gotcha. So we saw this as a movie. Say you made it into a big feature film.
Yeah.
So would it really be considered an action film then, right? It wouldn't be like a James Bond or a John
There's
Wick or
plenty of
something like
action
that.
in it. I mean, in fact, the second book is very violent, more violent than the first book. But so you could definitely make it into a movie in terms of what happens. It's just, but it wouldn't be like James Bond.
I mean, as far as action, I mean, he's not taking cars and jumping from one rooftop to another. Or
Not
he's
cars, but I mean, yeah, he uses weapons. He commits crimes of his own.
Oh, really?
In the
Okay.
second book, especially. But he's not a perfect person at all in this.
Okay,
In this
now if he's committing
series,
crimes, these crimes came out of your mind. Yeah. Okay, so this is your story. So he's committing crimes that come from you. How do you know about these crimes? How do you know how to succeed? Have you put it to the test, or how's this
It's a
work?
combination of research, things people have told me, and
Okay,
experience.
gotcha.
So I can't say, it's based on this and that and the other thing. It's a combination of these things and like through the imagination,
So you never tested them out yourself, like how to break into a building or whatever it is. You never tried it out yourself yet.
I've never broken into
yeah, that could
I
work.
can remember anyway.
Oh yeah, wait, that crime could work. I got away with it. Let me put that in my story. So you never done anything like that, right?
So the research element has components, but I wouldn't say breaking into a building yourself is one of them.
Whatever you do, whatever it is, whatever crime it is, he gets away with it. But,
Right.
So that's how that works there. Okay, it is interesting there. All right, so 2 weeks, another week this comes out.
1 week, yeah.
One more week this comes out, yeah, very cool. And a year after that will be your next one.
Yeah, The Dance Towards Death, which is the third book in the series.
And then you're done with this guy.
Well, I want to then continue with my other series, which is the short story collection series.
Right.
So the first book was Good Americans. That came out in 2013. So again, it's been a while, but I'm working towards the sequel, which hopefully I want to bring out in 2021. So that would be like my fourth book, if you could count the second edition of the first book in 4 years. So.
Okay, as far as you know, between the two, which has been more popular? with people
Well,
wanting to read
because of
it?
the second edition and some savvy marketing on Amazon and other places, that book is selling pretty well now. At least it is selling.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Good Americans has a bit of a hiatus now, but it was definitely a lot more critically acclaimed.
Right.
I think this will eventually be as well. But this was the critically acclaimed one. It had great reviews on Kirkus, perfect reviews on Amazon. Independent reviewers reviewed it very well. I've been on radio shows and stuff talking about this book specifically. I think that eventually, once I come out with the second book, I think this will become big again. But right now, that series is doing much better, just because I'm focusing on that series so much more.
And also, I think because you were on my show, this is doing so much better. And that was it, right?
That was the turning point.
This show here probably kicked it into high gear. That's what this show does. Okay, this show is a star maker. Okay, it makes stars out of people, writing stars, whatever there. As far now, have you ever thought of like transferring all into being a screenplay, or no, or?
I mean, when I was in my early 20s, that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a screenwriter, and a lot of the book is like dialogue-heavy, screenplay-like, I guess. But I mean, unless someone's really going to finance a movie based on this, there's kind of no point wasting your time putting a screenplay on it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I might have asked you this last time. I'm not sure. Say they wanted to make it into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in writing a screenplay for it, or would you rather somebody else do the screenplay, the adaptation of your book?
I'd say I would prefer to do it, yeah, definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
No, because they interviewed, is it Thomas Wolfe? Whoever Bonfire of the Vanities, something like
Thomas
that.
Wolfe, yeah. Tom Wolfe.
Tom Wolfe. He was being interviewed about that. Why didn't he want to write the screenplay part of it? He says like writing the same thing twice because it's just so boring. He couldn't be bothered with it. He wrote the book already. That was fine. He didn't want to let the other writers to do what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be bothered just rewriting the whole thing basically. So that was his theory. That was his idea. That's why I was asking you if you would also.
Well, I mean, film is definitely a different medium. You can't think of the same way as you do in literature. Not exactly the same way anyway. I mean, a lot of people say that my books are very film-like, which they are.
Are they dialogue heavy?
Yeah, they're very dialogue heavy.
They are, okay.
So they have, maybe the second book has lots of slang. So it has 3 glossaries of terms, actually. So it has a Thai glossary of terms, it has an Indian glossary of terms, and it has an Australian glossary of terms. Because there's so much slang used in it, authentic slang, and cultural terms, like especially like Thai culture is, very specific. So you get all these different things, and that's why they had all these glossaries and stuff. So you can learn about that. But yeah, it's very dialogue heavy, so the characters are gritty. They use tons of, authentic dialogue and phrases. So so it's action heavy, it's dialogue heavy.
Right.
It's what I would say noir, kind of like noir thriller fiction.
Yeah, these books are translated into like different languages for around the world? Or no?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But maybe one day.
Well, I'm thinking, I mean, if this thing were translated for the country of India, right? They might be interested in making a movie of something like this.
possible.
No, I mean, the whole Bollywood scene is still big over there, right?
I think when this book came out at first in 2012, there wasn't that much of an interest in crime, like in mysteries and stuff. But now there's a major show on Indian TV called Crime Patrol, and it's really great. They got like gritty mysteries and stuff. And so now I think it might be a better time for that to potentially happen. Yeah.
Right. Have you thought of the Brotherhood, the musical?
That would be a little bit more of a stretch, but
Might have something there. Who knows there, right? Could be on Broadway here. Just write some music to this here. You never know.
I once thought I was once writing a musical before. Yes, I was. Back in my screenwriter dream days.
Brotherhood, the musical. I'm telling you, don't dismiss it, man. You never know. Crazy things can happen here, right? Then you can do a whole series on. You can have put all your books together. You could have like a whole full-day event on Broadway, like the Harry Potter thing. It's about like 9 hours, 8, whatever it is. It's a lot of you could have something like that here.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't dismiss any of this. All of this is possible, man. You don't know. You never know.
One thing at a time, though, I think.
Well, yeah, I'm saying one thing at a time. We've been going since 2012.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah, that's true.
push your career a little faster here. You know what I mean?
Sounds good.
It's I don't want to be interviewing you until 2029. Well, I'm about to write another. I want to see things move along a little faster for you here. So this is pretty cool. And all right, so this is next week now too. Now your other book is already done. Number 3 is done.
Yeah, it's done. So
it's already done, complete from beginning to end. It's already done.
it's
now.
done, but my copy editor just edited it, and she also included some developmental stuff. So I'm going to go through it again, just like I did. That's why it took so long. Another reason why it was rewritten several times, and then after the copy edit, I also went through it again
Right.
to fine-tune things. And so she's done that, and so I'm going to go through it again, and then we're going to go through the process of doing everything else, cover design, proofreading,
Yeah, that's
formatting,
the
and everything
whole
else.
rewriting of that. That's just a lot. I wouldn't have the patience for
So
that. I don't know
that's
how
why
you
it's going
do
to take
it,
a
man.
year for it to come
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the patience for that. God bless you. You could do that, man. It's pretty cool. You sit down there and focus and all that. You say
Yeah.
you do what, at least an hour a day?
An hour and a half to 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, 2
if
hours
I
a
can.
day.
Yeah. Usually it's only 5 days a week these days. I used to do it 7 days a week. But and this is, I have a full-time job as well, so.
Right, yeah. And I guess you want to hang out sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Play with your friends.
Yeah,
I mean, you want to do
exactly.
something
Yeah.
here, right? That is crazy. That's not good for you, man. Again, I hope these things do well here. And if you decide to make a movie or TV series, I hope you got a partner for me. Is there a partner anywhere for me?
I think so, yeah. I think you could be the private investigator
I
that
could be
Leo works
there.
for.
There you go.
Yeah. I think you have the look that
But it's got to be
You
soon.
might
I'm not
have
getting. I'm
the
not getting.
mustache, but-
I'm not getting. I'll do it. Well, I'll have to be. Well, mine will be probably coming in gray now. But it's. But let me know. I'm not getting any younger here, okay, guys. So keep me posted on this here,
all right.
right? I say, so I'm not in a wheelchair or
you
nothing
find
else.
me an agent, and then we'll go from there.
We got to look into this. There's gonna be something here. It's gonna be my career right here. I get out of this place finally. Won't be stuck here, QP TV. Not that I'm stuck. I love being here with you guys. I love it. I love this here. I'm totally enjoying it. How are we doing on time there, buddy? We good? Yeah? I don't know what that means. Tell me.
About 2 minutes.
You think you may want to give me like a heads up on that? We have 2 minutes left? That's crazy there. That's nuts. So anyway, it's pretty exciting. And when this comes out, do you already plan a little tour going on, a little tour of Queens or something like that?
Yeah, so I have some readings coming up, and
So where are you going to be? In case we want to look you up or something like that. Is there
yeah, sure. I mean,
or
well, you could add me on Facebook, so you can look me up on Facebook.
Facebook. Where do we find you on the Facebook? Just your name?
Yeah,
what?
just under my name. Just look up Tejas Desai writer. I have several
You
pages
get that?
actually, but
Tejas Desai. You read this book, you can't stop because it's contagious.
I
get it?
got that a lot in kindergarten. By the way.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
That's me, kindergarten humor. That's what I do here, kindergarten humor. That's my style. Yeah, so that's. So if they go to your website, if they go to your Facebook, they can find out where you're going to be around
If
Queens.
you
and stuff
Google
like
me,
that.
you should be able to find my website. It's tejas-desai.com. You can find me on Amazon. I have an Amazon page with all my books on there.
And I'll tell you where you're going to be live and in person. They can meet you, shake your hand, and stuff like that. Even
Yeah.
talk to you about the book and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm also at the library. I work at Cambria Heights Library right now. You can always.
Oh, Cambria Heights. I grew up not far from there in Rosedale.
Okay, very nice.
Anyway, will you tell us our time is up? We have 30 seconds there. Tejas, man, once again, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you
I
for having
appreciate
me on again.
Good luck with
Yeah.
this. And anytime you want to come on, you let me know.
Okay.
Want to thank you guys for tuning in there. Talents Unlimited, again, the second Tuesday of every month. I appreciate the calls came in there. And
Say goodbye.
see you next month. Goodbye now. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Went pretty well. We talked did a
Yeah.
good length of time on this here, too.
Yeah,
It's pretty
yeah,
good there.
Yeah.
Went well for you.
Yeah.
So good. I think you got your books up there. Very good. They showed them up there. Very nice.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, what picture is that? I saw that. Is that a
Yeah,
more
so that's
recent
my
one?
author pick. That's in Long Island City, actually, near the New Hunters Point Library, actually, which
Okay.
is opening in 2 weeks.